Coach, since you've had an opportunity to actually watch guys huddle, break the huddle, um, start the process a little bit, the obvious question everybody had is Joe Burrow as advertised?
So far, yeah. I think a lot of guys made some comments the other day about him, and he's just got a great feel for what we're trying to do. His offseason work was outstanding. He worked really hard. I think that part gets skipped over a little bit. He's such an intense worker that he's put himself in position to know what to do and how to do it. And I think that's rubbed off on his teammates, and obviously his presentation and how he goes about his business has been everything we thought it would be.
Coach, how you doing? Could you walk us through a quarterback quarantine? I know this is kind of something you're doing on the fly, but Can you kind of walk about how you envision it and have done it so far?
We're just trying to be smart with all the things that are going on, and we don't really know how this is going to affect us. So far, it's been we've had no problems, but you hate to have a position get knocked out for any period of time, particularly right now in training camp, and all these reps are so valuable. To have a shot at losing guys for a day or two or three just because they've been in the vicinity of somebody who could have tested positive, that wouldn't make a lot of sense for us. So we're kind of erring on the side of caution. We're keeping the meeting room separate, I think, as Zach touched on. So Pitch and Joe and myself kind of sit in the room together, and then the rest of the guys are on Zoom. Ryan Finley's got his own spot up here. Jake Dolagala sits with Brad Craigthorpe in his office. So it's more than anything else. It's just being cautious and conservative as far as when we want these guys together and when we don't, and why put them in any sort of risk of getting knocked out for any period of time in training camp when we need them for all these reps that we have in an abbreviated time.
Do you keep them away from each other during the walkthrough too?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we got 2 walkthroughs going, so 2 quarterbacks are participating, 2 are standing behind and watching. So by that nature, they're already kind of distanced from each other to begin with. So nothing out of the ordinary there in that regard.
Brian, how much stuff will you throw at Joe? Would it be as much as you'd throw at like a veteran quarterback in a camp, or are you trying to fast track him, or do you want to let him kind of come along at a speed that's comfortable for him?
We always go at the speed of the quarterback, and so everything we do is geared around how much he can handle and the volume that he can handle and the speed at which we can put it on him. So far, I would say that he has not proven that he needs any more time to study and learn than anybody else that I've been around. So we kind of throw it all at him. And there's a lot of philosophies with that. Sometimes you throw a lot at a guy, see what sticks, see what doesn't, and you kind of adjust from there and narrow it down as you get closer to the game time. But we've had so much time to meet virtually and non-virtually so far that really the installation mentally hasn't been an issue at all. Really, it's more going to be getting up to speed physically and working those things, the timing, being around the guys, getting to know the guys, how they run routes, how things work live versus a defense as opposed to sitting in a classroom talking about it. So, we haven't pulled back one bit, and he's handled everything we've thrown at him. So it's been really encouraging and exciting in that regard.
In that regard, AJ Green, this first time you've seen him since what happened catastrophically last year. How is he looking? He was obviously could take mental reps last year. He knows the sequences of what you went through offensively and adjustments and all that were made. So he's obviously up to speed with everything, mentally and physically.
He's been great. It's been really fun seeing number 18 run around on the field. Gets me pretty excited. I know Zach feels the same. He's been good. He worked really hard. He was engaged all year long last year, given his circumstances. Obviously, he's worked really hard to rehab and get himself healthy. He looks fantastic, and mentally he's been the all pro that he is. So I'm excited. I'm really, really excited to have him playing football for us this year.
Coach, what are you looking to get out of Jonah Williams in the left tackle position that was maybe missing last year?
Consistency would be the first thing. We had so many guys playing last year at that spot, both out of necessity and injury. Just things come up every week. It felt like we had a new tackle out there. I know that wasn't necessarily the case, but that's how it felt sometimes. So just to have someone be out there every day in the same spot is going to be stabilizing to that front. And then, him and Mike Jordan getting time together, Trey being in there, Billy rotating in there, Xavier, those guys all playing together, I think makes a big difference. And we had to rotate and move guys around. And look, that's life in the NFL. You're going to have those things happen. You're going to play with different lineups. Everybody has to deal with it. But the more that the 5 guys that are going to play the most play together, especially in an abbreviated offseason, the better off we're going to be. So I really just look for Jonah to come in there and stabilize and be consistent in his play so we can continue to grow up front together, both in the run game and the pass game.
And how does Jonah look? Does he look like a rookie, or does he look like a second-year player who's got to watch, last season?
Oh, he looks good. He's really what ended up happening to him is he got a year to kind of reshape his body. I think he's changed his body. He looks like a pro. He doesn't look like a college kid anymore. He looks like a pro. His build and physique, he kind of changed, not completely, but he walked up to get tested when he first got here, and it was like, ooh, hey Jonah, it's good to see you, man. He does. He worked as hard as anybody last year. I mean, he was in every meeting. He was working on his own. He is well prepared to take that spot. As far as he's going to be a rookie in some regards because he hasn't played yet. So the play part of it's got to happen quick. We got to get pads on and play football. That kind of goes for everybody on offense, really. But as far as everything he's done up to this point, he does not look or feel like a rookie at all.
Coach, how hard is it going to be for the guys up front, especially the young guys, Jonah, Michael Jordan, et cetera, to develop, given that it's been a virtual offseason?
Yeah, I think there's challenges with it. Certainly, to sit and say it doesn't matter would probably be a little bit remiss. I mean, it's a challenge, but thankfully the whole league's going through that challenge. We're not the only team with young players that need reps. So it'll be hard, but they're up to the task, and we do have a lot of practice time really between now and the first game. So I think it's enough time to get what we need to get out of those guys, getting ready for the first game. But yeah, it's not ideal. It's not the way you'd want to have it. I would love to have had 10 OTAs and 17 padded practices and all the things that we're supposed to get. But we don't, and that's where we're at. And I think it's going to be plenty of time for those guys to develop. They've all worked really hard on their own in the off season. Now it's just going to be coming together and playing together against the defense.
What does a rookie quarterback miss not having a preseason game?
Getting hit for the first time. That's usually a big part of it. All quarterbacks kind of have those. They got a little jitters. They don't get touched very often in practice. They don't feel a live rush, and especially for a kid that hasn't played NFL football, a rookie quarterback generally that first time that rush comes live, actually at full speed, is a little bit different than college. Now he was playing against great players in the SEC. That's as close as you're going to ever get probably to NFL speed and tempo. But that first pass rush, that first hit, that first time they get jolted around, kind of reminds them that it's time to play football again. So you'd like that to happen, obviously, before the opener, but that we don't get that this year. So that's one thing. The other thing is going to be just being on the field in the huddle on your own. Every practice, guys are kind of behind, and coaches are there and interacting, and then dealing with the game situations as they come up, dealing with the clock, the play clock. There's a lot of just operational things that come into play that we're not going to get a chance to do in a live situation, and we can simulate those things, but it's always different when you walk out there and it's just the 11 guys on the other 11 guys, and you're playing football for real. So I think he'll be fine, but I know there's some things that you're going to miss without having the preseason games, just getting the jitters out, if you will, from that starting aspect for a young player.
How tough is it for you guys from a schematic standpoint not to have any preseason tape of the Chargers? I mean, you've obviously got. I mean, they may have a new quarterback. Who knows? And they will have a new quarterback. So does that put you guys behind too, because you don't have anything to go off of? There's no preseason tape. There's nothing on the Chargers.
Maybe to some degree, just to see what their new additions might look like. They got a new linebacker that they drafted in the first round. But other than that, they return a lot of players. Their scheme isn't changed. Gus Bradley's been there for a bunch of years now. And so that part of it, they'll have their wrinkles. Everybody does. They'll have studied and made changes in the offseason. But outside of just seeing what their players look like moving around, nobody shows much in the preseason anyway as far as scheme, so it doesn't really help you too much. You're still working off of last year's tape when you got actual game tape when they're in situations that would necessitate real calls and the situations that come down to winning and losing games. So you still spend most of your time with that. I don't think it's a huge disadvantage to miss opponent tape necessarily on the preseason, other than just to evaluate some of their players that might be new.
T. Higgins, coach, is he, from what you've seen so far, do you expect he's going to give you what you guys anticipated when you drafted him?
Yeah, I think so. I think T's been really, really good to start this training camp off. He's had it's a lot of offense for him to start too. So he's coming along. He's learning it. Physically he looks great. He looks like the guy that we took with the first pick of the second round, and we're all excited about. So I'm looking forward to seeing T go out and compete. We're all kind of chomping at the bit a little bit because we're here and we're working, but we're not really practicing yet. It's walkthrough and lifting and meetings, and so I think we're all kind of waiting to see that first day when we can actually go at each other a little bit.
How's
What did you learn rotationally last year with the running backs? Mixon and Gio had pretty defined roles. Travion never even got on the field. Did you feel like you learned something with that maybe you would tweak the way it went going this year, or did you feel like you liked that was kind of the way that you wanted it to look?
Yeah, without giving too much away, I do. There's some things that we kind of grew through and learned through. The other thing, we got really fortunate because both our backs were healthy for the whole season. So when you got your two top backs healthy, most of the time your third one doesn't play very often at this level. And we got two that we think are really good that play really unique roles for us. Joe's going to play a lot because Joe's a volume carrier. He gets better as he gets more carries. And we found as the season went along, we got better at getting him more touches. And so, when he's touching the ball 20 plus times total at the end of a game, his numbers are usually pretty good. He's been very effective in as far as just pure touches go, carries and catches. So, it's hard to spread the ball around to everybody. You only get about 65 plays in a game, so 70 plays if you're really moving along pretty good. So for Joe and Gio, their roles are pretty defined. Gio's a dynamic third down back. He's great in protection. He's a great route runner, and he can carry the ball when he needs to. And Joe's exceptional on first and second down. Joe's capable of playing on third down. And so there's just the snaps to go around for everybody when you're talking about playing the third back at that point with two healthy backs. Makes it a little bit harder to get him in, but there are some rotational things that could help us as the season goes along.
Would you like to involve Joe more in the passing game? It's kind of the same thing you're saying where there's only so many to go around, but when he has had opportunities there, both here and in college, he's proven pretty good at that.
Yeah, he's an all-around complete back. He can do just about everything you need him to do, and so finding ways to get him some touches in the pass game are some of the things that we've looked at and studied and ways to do that better than we did last year. So to say that that's how the game's going to work out and we're going to target them 8 times a game or anything like that, I can't say that right now because I don't know. It's kind of a game by game basis as it works every week. But Joe, the more Joe touches the ball, the better it is for our offense, without a doubt. So all the ways that we can find to get him the ball, the better it's going to be.
More importantly, how would you characterize Gio's mustache right now?
Ooh. If there's a guy that could rock a mustache, Gio's probably the one right now. I think it looks great.
Full.
Yeah, it's
Schematically,
bushy.
Yeah. Schematically, last year, big change midway through the season in terms of going from zone to pin and pull and some more gap scheme, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Finished really strong. Still tweaking the run game, or happy with the way the run game finished? What's the mindset now?
I think we've found some success as the season went along. I wouldn't say that anything that we did last year would necessarily make me happy. There was things that were improved upon, which was a good sign. But obviously, we got to be a lot better early in the season to start. We can't afford the kind of lack of success we had in the run game. So, look, if we pick up the season and start where we left off, I think I'll be very happy. But schematically, in the NFL, you got to be able to do just about all the schemes. You can't live in one all the time. These defenses are too good. The coordinators are too smart. They don't allow you to get away with one thing for too long. So your scheme has to be varied, and it's got, we fit our scheme the best we can of the guys carrying the ball and the guys blocking up front. And, some of that pin and pull stuff was successful for us. We still had some good zone runs as the season went along.
Right.
So we're going to keep tweaking and keep adding and keep moving things around to get our guys in the best spots and give the ball to Joe and put him in schemes that he's most comfortable with and runs well. And it's always going to be it's going to be game by game. Some games lend you more to some pin and pulls. Some games are more tight zone. Some games are more wide zone. Sometimes you need some more gaps and traps and things like that. So, I would never limit what we're going to do and how we're going to do it on a week-to-week basis.
And Joe Burrow has generated so much excitement that people see a still photograph of him and they're frothing at the mouth around here. How is he handling that? And is there a lot of good-natured ribbing going on with his teammates and coaches about the spotlight that's being shown on him right now?
It's not anything out of the ordinary, I don't think. I think he's used to it too. His spotlight at LSU last year was pretty bright. To the point where he probably didn't go out much in Baton Rouge without a lot of people all over him. He became a celebrity down there, and then he became really a celebrity across the country. So I don't think it's new to him. I think he handles it just like he handles everything else. He handles things with poise and confidence, and knows how to be gracious and knows how to respond to people that are in his corner and cheering for him and excited for him. So. I think it's great for the city of Cincinnati and the fans of the Bengals. I know we're just as excited as they are. So that's great. Unfortunately, I don't know if we're going to get to have everybody in the stadium to cheer him on, but it makes me excited that everybody else is excited on top of it. So.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump in just one or two more, and then we'll let Coach go.
Going back to the running back position, how's Joe Mixon's mindset been thus far in camp?
He's been great. Joe's a pro, and we all understand where he's at, but ultimately his business is his business, and that's how this thing goes. He's not the first guy to have to want a contract or the first guy that's deserving of a new one. And, it doesn't have any effect on me. And I know, players have different ways of handling those situations, but ultimately, when it's time to go work and play football, that's what we're going to do. And that's what he's done. So he's been great. And I know he's looking for his new contract. And, anytime a player gets paid in this league, I get excited for him. So if that's the case and it gets done, that's great. I hope it works out the way he wants it to. And, but as far as how he's been same old Joe as he's always been. And, the guys that can separate the business and the football, you appreciate, because they don't necessarily always go together, but they're kind of forced into the same room sometimes. So, I've got no complaints about Joe whatsoever. He's been the same guy he's always been.
The same, when you say that, Brian, just Joe kind of described his personality a little bit. He's kind of seems to be an upbeat guy. You know what I mean? Is that how you see him? How would you describe his personality, what he brings to the table with intangibles?
Just in general?
Yeah, just intangibles.
Yeah, you guys have all seen him. He's an energizer bunny. He's jumping up and down and running his mouth at people and having fun playing football. He loves playing football, and he loves his teammates. And I think that he's everything you want from that regard. And he goes out and does his job. He plays hard. He practices hard. You can see by he puts the work in mentally and physically. And he's kind of been the heartbeat of our offense here, especially last year. But for the last couple of years, I would say, without being here, just watching from afar, between him and AJ, those guys have kind of been the driving forces behind the energy of the offense.